1854, Senator Stephen Douglas of Illinois, a member of the Democrat Party, proposed the most controversial piece of legislation in American history. By the 1850s, there were urgent demands to organize the Western territories that had been inherited by the Louisiana Purchase of 1804 and Mexican War 1848. The purpose of the bill was to organize the territory of Nebraska and Kansas, an area covering the present-day states of Kansas, Nebraska, Montana, and the Dakotas, so a large chunk of Midwest America. Well, that doesn't sound so bad, right? Then why all the controversy? Oh yeah, the United States was facing a huge issue, slavery. Over the past 50 years, the United States was facing increasing division around the issue of slave and free states. Many laws and bills had been formed to keep everyone content. 1820, the Missouri Compromise was formed, no slave states above the 30-36 North Line. 1850, California was formed as a free state, much of its land below the Missouri Compromise line. 1854, the Kansas-Nebraska land should be free states then, right? It's above the Missouri Compromise line, right? No, Stephen Douglas proposed something different. Popular sovereignty. This means let the people of the area vote to decide if it should become a slave state or not. By May 1854, the Senate voted 37-14 in favour to pass the Nebraska bill. Following this approval from President Franklin Pierce, a resounding uproar of debate began against the bill. Ohio Senator Salmon Chase denounced the bill as a gross violation of a sacred pledge. Charles Sumner's anti-slavery coalition attacked Douglas, arguing that his bill would make the new territories a dreary region of despotism inhabited by masters and slaves. A violent struggle began between pro-slavery and anti-slavery factions. Both flooded into the territory hoping to gain enough votes for their side to triumph. It also stimulated a major party realignment. Let me explain. Since the 1830s, the two main political parties in the United States had been the Democratic Party and the Whig Party. The parties disagreed mainly about economic policy. The Whigs favoured accelerated economic growth, often endorsing federal government projects to achieve that goal. Democrats wanted the federal government to play a smaller role in regulating the economy. Whigs tended to be wealthier, predominantly planters in the South and wealthy urban Northerners. Democrats presented themselves as defenders of the common people against the elite. The Democrats were heavily divided along sectional lines as a result of the bill, and the Whig Party ceased to exist in the next few years, decimated by the bill. Most important, the Kansas-Nebraska Act gave rise to the Republican Party, a new political party that attracted Northern Whigs, Democrats who shunned the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and members of the Free Soil Party, and abolitionists. As a result, the Republican Party became a solid northern political organization, creating a new binary party system reflecting sectional fault lines along the question of slavery. It's important to remember that the Northerners had a larger population than the South, and therefore won the presidential election of 1860 with Abraham Lincoln, 6 years after their inception. Opponents of the law expressed outrage over the dismissal of the Missouri Compromise and accused Douglas of submitting to slavery. Immigration aid societies in both the North and South encouraged settlement in Kansas, where two opposing territorial governments and constitutions formed as a localized civil war exploded. Military-minded combatants included so-called border ruffians, pro-slavery Missourians who felt deeply threatened by the possibility of a free state on their western border. In addition to the Iowa to the north and Illinois to the east, border ruffians fought bitterly with free state jayhawkers, and both carried out violent raids and committed massive voter fraud, leading to national headlines describing Bleeding Kansas as the epicenter of America's sectional divide. The fiery abolitionist John Brown arrived in Kansas in 1855, bringing with him an interpretation of the Kansas-Nebraska Act as a divine call to arms. His act of aggression against Missouri slave owners came through violence along the border. After pro-slavery activists attacked at Lawrence, Kansas in 1856, Brown and other abolitionists mounted a counter-attack. The attack resulted in the deaths of 5 pro-slavery settlers. So going back to Stephen Douglas, creator of the Kansas-Nebraska Act and popular sovereignty, What was his motivation? He wasn't for slavery or pro-slavery and was happy either way. His motivation was the purpose of the bill, to organize the territory of Nebraska and Kansas. During the 1840s, the push to organize the Kansas and Nebraska territories was inspired by the prospects of a transcontinental railroad across the country. The problem of determining the railway's route, whether it would pass through free or slave territory, was hotly debated and prevented any construction. The primary deterrent to a northern route was the Missouri Compromise of 1820. Without the support of slave state senators, the likelihood of completing the railroad remained very low. Douglas had personal and financial reasons for securing a northern route, which he believed would run through his home state of Illinois and more specifically through the city of Chicago, where he had heavily invested in real estate. In an effort to further appease Southern politicians and win their votes, Douglas worked behind the scenes to ensure that the Missouri Compromise line was repealed. Opponents of the law expressed outrage over the dismissal of the Missouri Compromise and accused Douglas of submitting to the slave power. Douglas gained support from both sides to generate his own motives. However, at this point, slavery could not be ignored. The Kansas-Nebraska Act ultimately divided the nation and led it further down the path to civil war. If you've made it this far, thanks so much for watching, and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. See you next time.